Phenomenal to be in the presence of men and women who have served our country. So
It broke Spotify's record for most streams in a day.
I'm really, really excited about it. I've been going through the process of re-recording.
Before the world screamed her name, there was a quiet girl in Pennsylvania trying to outrun a feeling she didn't have words for. Taylor Swift didn't grow up chasing fame. She grew up chasing escape. Her childhood wasn't tragic, but it was isolating. She wasn't the loudest, the prettiest, or the one people feared. She was the one they overlooked, the one they underestimated, the one they whispered about when they thought she wasn't listening. When other kids blended in, she stood out, and not in ways that made life easy. The guitar became her shelter, the pages of her notebooks, the only place she could exist without judgment. But even then, she felt the pressure of being different, the strange instinct that she was meant for something larger, even if she didn't understand it yet. And before she ever stepped onto a stage, she learned something brutal. Dreams demand sacrifice long before they offer rewards. And hers was only beginning.
They will be the legacy that lives on after my music has faded.
No, please.
Before we move on, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any of our upcoming documentaries. When Taylor convinced her family to move to Tennessee, it wasn't a leap of confidence. It was a leap of desperation. She was young, unproven, and surrounded by thousands chasing the same impossible dream. Nashville wasn't a fairy tale city. It was a battlefield where talent meant nothing without timing, stamina, and emotional armor she didn't have yet. Every meeting felt like a verdict. Every rejection felt like a door closing on her future. She carried demo CDs like survival supplies, pushing them into hands that barely looked up. They told her she was too young, too honest, too country, too pop. No one knew what to do with a girl who didn't fit the mold. And every no echoed louder than the last. But behind closed doors, tears turned into fuel. Discouragement hardened into obsession. Taylor didn't want fame. She wanted proof she wasn't wrong about herself. And in a city that swallowed dreams whole, she refused to be another forgotten name.
It's literally, they became memes, they became gifts.
When her first songs finally gained traction, people assumed the rise was easy. They didn't see the nights she cried herself to sleep, terrified the industry would chew her up before she ever had a chance to grow. They didn't see the pressure she felt walking into rooms full of adults who spoke to her like a kid chasing a hobby. Even when the spotlight began warming her skin, she felt cold inside, because everything she'd fought for could be taken away instantly. The music world loved new stars until it didn't. Teenage Taylor lived with a constant fear that her career was a fragile illusion, one mistake away from collapse. She monitored her every move, her every word, her every interaction, trying not to crack under the weight of expectations. Success didn't silence the whispers from her past. It only made them louder. She won't last. She's lucky. She's manufactured. And just as she began to rise, the world prepared to test how high she could go before they pulled her down.
I've got artists like Chris Stapleton and Phoebe Bridgers featured on them.
When Love Story and You Belong With Me turned her into a global phenomenon, the world saw a girl living a dream. What they didn't see was the loneliness hiding inside the fame. Crowds followed her. Critics followed her harder. Suddenly, every heartbreak, every friendship shift, every teenage mistake became national news. Taylor's diary pages were no longer private confessions. They became weapons the media twisted into narratives. The price of fame was brutal. She had to smile while being mocked for the same emotions her music celebrated. She grew used to laughing off interviews that painted her as clingy, dramatic, boy-obsessed. The jokes hurt more than she ever admitted. But the worst part wasn't the teasing. It was the creeping realization that the world didn't want her to grow. They wanted her frozen as a sweet, harmless country girl. And behind the stage lights, she began asking herself a painful question. What happens when the world loves you only as long as you stay small?
I am the most excited about is a song called All Too Well.
The 2009 VMAs should have been a milestone she remembered with pride. Instead, it became a scar that followed her for years. When Kanye West ripped the mic from her hands, it wasn't just a moment of disrespect. It was a moment that shattered her sense of belonging. Standing frozen on that stage, she felt the entire room go silent and not in her favor. She learned that applause could turn into paralysis in a heartbeat, that fame could turn into humiliation without warning. The incident became a global spectacle, replayed millions of times, dissected by people who didn't care about the girl at the center of it. Behind closed doors, Taylor didn't cry because of Kanye. She cried because she finally understood how vulnerable she was. She realized the world could tear her down publicly, and she would have no choice but to stand there and take it. It was a brutality she never forgot, and it planted a darkness she carried long after the cameras had shut off.
I knew I had a favorite on the album, and it was a song called All Too Well.
In the years following the VMA incident, Taylor tried rebuilding her confidence, but the world had already sharpened its claws. Every award, every chart topper, every sold-out tour came with a chorus of critics whispering that she didn't deserve any of it. She became a magnet for controversy she never asked for. Relationships mocked, friendships judged, motives questioned. The narrative that she was too emotional evolved into something uglier. That she was manipulative, calculating, fake. She was punished for writing songs about heartbreak, as if men hadn't been doing the same for decades. And yet she continued smiling, performing, pretending none of it hurt. But behind closed doors, she felt the cracks forming. The pressure to be perfect, to prove herself, to never slip, it weighed on her like iron chains. She began living in a constant state of bracing, waiting for the next storm, the next headline, the next moment the world would decide she was the villain of her own success.
Just was really upset and sad. And
Red became an album of raw emotion, a masterpiece born from heartbreak and exhaustion. But the world didn't treat it like art, they treated it like gossip. Every lyric became a clue, every song a target. Critics dismissed her vulnerability as drama. The public laughed at her pain. But the deeper wound came when the album lost the Grammy she had dreamed of. To the world, it was just another award show. To Taylor, it was confirmation of her worst fear, that her best wasn't good enough, that maybe she wasn't good enough. That night, backstage, she felt a new kind of hurt, a quiet internal collapse. She forced herself to clap, to smile, to be gracious. But inside, she vowed something dangerous. She would reinvent herself so completely that the world would never doubt her again. It wasn't ambition, it was survival. Red didn't break her. It hardened her. It turned her from a dreamer into a strategist. And the transformation was only beginning.
I started playing guitar and just kind of playing the same 4 chords over and over again. And
When Taylor released 1989, it wasn't just a musical shift, it was a battle cry. She abandoned the country label that boxed her in and stepped into pop with a fearless confidence she didn't feel. The album's success was enormous, but the pressure behind it was suffocating. She was expected to be perfect, every outfit, every performance, every interview. America's sweetheart couldn't have bad days, couldn't show cracks, couldn't breathe wrong. The media obsession grew darker. Paparazzi followed her like predators. Tabloids created stories faster than she could deny them. Even her friendships were scrutinized, twisted into headlines. And as she tried to enjoy her success, she felt the world waiting, watching, preparing to knock her down the first chance they got. Fame became a glass cage, beautiful from the outside, isolating from the inside. Even at her peak, she felt the walls closing in. She didn't know it yet, but the biggest takedown of her life was already brewing beneath the surface.
And it went on, and the song kept building and building and building in intensity.
The feud with Katy Perry wasn't just a celebrity conflict. It was fuel for a media machine hungry to destroy Taylor's reputation. The public didn't see the hurt behind the scenes, the sense of betrayal, the fear of losing people she trusted. Instead, they treated it like entertainment, picking sides, turning women against each other. Taylor's friendships became ammunition. The squad that once made her feel supported became a punchline. Suddenly, she was portrayed as controlling, fake, insecure. Every move she made was interpreted as shade. Every silence was seen as strategy. And the worst part? She couldn't defend herself without proving critics right. She was trapped. No matter what she did, the world twisted it. The more successful she became, the easier it was for people to call her the villain. And for the first time in her career, Taylor realized something painful. Sometimes the world doesn't want your truth, just your downfall. And they were eager to witness hers.
Take one camera shot that lasts for a very long time and you...
Then came the storm she never saw coming. An event that would change everything. The leaked phone call, the edited recording, the internet turning on her with a speed and viciousness she couldn't comprehend. Suddenly, hashtags branded her a snake. Influencers mocked her. Strangers flooded her life with hate. Overnight, Taylor Swift, one of the biggest stars in the world, became the most despised name on social media. She wasn't just criticized, she was annihilated. And the worst part? She couldn't defend herself without worsening the fire. So she went silent. Completely silent. For a girl whose life was built on her voice, silence felt like death. She hid from the world, from cameras, even from friends. She let the internet bury her because fighting back felt impossible. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a public execution. And as the world celebrated her downfall, Taylor disappeared into the darkest chapter of her life.
I mean, I hope fun.
Yeah, it'll be great.
I hope it'll be fun.
During her disappearance, Taylor lived a life she never imagined. One stripped of glamour, stripped of noise, stripped of validation. She woke up to panic attacks. She questioned every decision she had ever made. She replayed the scandals in her head, wondering where the truth ended and the lies began. She felt like she had lost control of her own narrative, her own identity. The girl who once filled stadiums couldn't walk down the street without fear. And in that isolation, she confronted something she'd suppressed for years: the grief of constantly being misunderstood. She wasn't Taylor Swift, superstar. She was Taylor Swift, human, broken, confused, and tired. The world may have been laughing, but inside her home, she was rebuilding herself in silence. Not out of ambition, not out of revenge, but because disappearing forever would mean letting the world win. And she wasn't ready to be erased.
It's on track to sell well over 1 million copies in its first week. That is history, buddy. Congratulations.
Reputation wasn't an album, it was a resurrection. A dark, electrified reclaiming of her power. Taylor returned to the world not with apologies, but with fire. Every lyric was a dagger sharpened by betrayal. Every beat was a heartbeat rebuilt from ashes. She didn't care about being America's sweetheart. She cared about survival. If the world wanted a villain, she would show them what one looked like: controlled, unbothered, untouchable. But beneath the armor, real wounds still bled. She performed through fear, trusting almost no one. Reputation became her most cathartic creation, but also her most isolating. Because behind the black outfits and bold statements, she was still healing, still hurting, still hiding. But she had taken back one thing the world stole from her: her voice. Reputation wasn't revenge, it was rebirth. And for the first time in years, she felt strength instead of fear.
I'm creating a character. They went and did this and felt this way.
Yes.
So
As she emerged from her Reputation era, Taylor found something she hadn't felt in a long time: gentleness. Joe Alwyn entered her life quietly, without fanfare, without chaos. He offered something fame had stolen from her: privacy. With him, she could breathe, laugh, exist without cameras. But even love came with new struggles. She worried about dragging him into her storms. Worried the world would weaponize their relationship like they had with her past. So she hid him, protected him, sheltered their connection like something sacred. But hiding came with its own pain. She lived a double life: Taylor Swift the icon, and Taylor the girl who just wanted to feel safe. She wrote songs that revealed her vulnerability, but kept her real tears behind closed doors. Love didn't fix everything, but it gave her something to hold onto while navigating the ruins of her reputation. And for a few years, life felt quieter.
the more I write, the more I keep writing. I don't know what.
Just as Taylor began steadying herself, Another war erupted, one that struck the heart of her identity, the ownership of her masters. When she learned her life's work had been sold behind her back to someone she believed intended to torment her, it wasn't just betrayal, it was violation. Every lyric, every memory, every chapter of her youth belonged to a man she didn't trust. She felt robbed of her past, of her legacy. She had spent years rebuilding her confidence, only to have the foundation ripped out from beneath her. And the world watched again, waiting to see if she would break. But instead of collapsing, Taylor chose a path no one expected. She would reclaim what was stolen by recreating it. She would rewrite her own history. It was an audacious act of defiance, a battle cry disguised as melody. Taking back her work wasn't just business, it was survival. And it fueled her in ways fame never could.
In the last 6 or 7 years, I've just been constantly making things. And
the re-recordings became more than albums. They became symbols of resistance. Taylor poured herself into every note, revisiting memories she had tried to bury. Some sessions reopened old wounds. Others healed them. But behind the empowerment was exhaustion. She was fighting one of the biggest music battles in modern history while carrying the weight of public expectations. People demanded perfection. Critics searched for faults. She felt pressure to honor her younger self, to do justice to the girl who once believed the world could be kind. At the same time, she tried protecting her personal life, family, and fragile inner peace. She was stronger than ever, yet more tired than anyone realized. And just when she thought life couldn't shake her again, the world entered a new nightmare, a pandemic that would force her into a different type of silence, one filled with introspection, uncertainty, and emotional unraveling.
like they tease me a lot, and I enjoy it.
You do.
When lockdown hit, Taylor found herself alone with her thoughts in a way she hadn't experienced since her disappearance years earlier. Without tours, interviews, or travel, she began confronting emotions she had avoided for years. Fear, anxiety, grief, memories of humiliation, echoes of public hatred. Isolation brought clarity, but also pain. She poured all of it into Folklore and Evermore, albums born from quiet darkness and soft rebellion. They were masterpieces, but they were also escape routes. Writing became a way to outrun the anxiety that stalked her. But even at this creative peak, she feared the world's return. Feared the spotlight she once thrived in. Feared losing the fragile peace she found in the shadows. And yet, she moved forward, crafting new stories, new versions of herself. The world praised her reinvention, but they didn't know she was still fighting a hidden battle. The fear that her past could repeat itself at any moment.
Say I had more fun making it than any album I've ever made.
Isn't that interesting?
As the world reopened, pressure returned like a familiar ghost. Taylor stepped back into performances with a renewed spark, but also a cautious heart. She was stronger, wiser, and more self-aware, yet emotionally fragile in ways no one could see. Success didn't erase the scars of her past. It only layered new expectations on top of them. She felt the weight of an audience that wanted perfection, of a media ready to twist her silence into scandal, of fans who saw her as invincible when she was still healing. Navigating fame felt like navigating a maze with invisible traps. At times, she wondered if she had outgrown the version of herself the world clung to. At times, she feared losing the joy she once found in music. But she kept moving, kept performing, kept building the empire she had fought to protect. She didn't know it yet, but another shift, an emotional earthquake, was quietly forming on the horizon.
Write songs about pain or grief or suffering or loss or hard things that you go through in life.
Her relationship with Joe Alwyn, once a sanctuary, grew strained under the weight of two worlds colliding. Private love struggled against public pressure. Quiet moments were overshadowed by future questions. Their differing lifestyles, ambitions, and emotional rhythms slowly pulled them apart. Taylor felt the heartbreak long before it became public. She wrote songs that hinted at cracks, at fading light, at hands slowly letting go. But she kept smiling, kept performing, kept pretending she wasn't breaking inside. The breakup wasn't explosive, it was tragic in its quietness. Two people who once fit perfectly grew into versions of themselves that no longer aligned. When it finally ended, she felt the familiar ache she once tried so hard to outrun. Another love story lost, another piece of her heart scarred, and before the world could analyze it, judge it, weaponize it, she kept moving. Because collapsing again wasn't an option.
Snow on the Beach, which features the genius Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
After the breakup, Taylor stepped into the Eras tour with a mixture of defiance and devastation. She performed with a fire that felt almost superhuman, but beneath that power was a woman rebuilding herself in real time. Every night on stage, she stitched pieces of her identity back together. Every cheer reminded her she wasn't the girl lost in the shadows years ago. But fame brought loneliness too. Hotel rooms that felt too quiet, emotions too heavy to reveal, cameras waiting to catch a single crack in her armor. She had survived humiliation, betrayal, heartbreak, and industry warfare, yet she still questioned if she deserved peace. Still feared the world's next attempt to tear her down. But this time, something was different. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't shrinking. She was stepping into a new chapter with open wounds but unbroken spirit. She stood on her stage as a warrior who had earned every scar.
My mom sent videos that she had secretly recorded.
And just before her world collided with Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift lived through one final revelation. She could survive anything. She had faced public destruction and rebuilt herself. She had endured heartbreak and still believed in love. She had fought the biggest battles in music and walked out victorious. The girl who once wrote songs to escape had become a woman who wrote songs to endure. Her life before Kelce wasn't a fairy tale, it was a battlefield. But every struggle carved strength into her bones. Every betrayal sharpened her instincts. Every loss deepened her understanding of herself. She stepped into her new era not as the broken girl the world once mocked, but as a survivor who refused to be defined by pain. And as the lights of her past dimmed, she didn't know what fate had prepared for her next. Only that this time, she was ready, truly ready, for whatever new story awaited her.
I buy cats.
Just buy cats.
I hang out with the cats.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any of our upcoming documentaries.